Good evening, everyone. We welcome you all for the first edition of our STORYFEST. We are approaching International Literacy Day, which is on 8th of September. We at Olive Trails took this platform for celebration of imagination, wonder, and tales that never age. Stories create community, enable us to see through the eyes of other people, and open us to a world of a whole new world. So today we will bring back the old world charm of storytelling. We will focus on tales that explore a new world and provide opportunity for kids to get to know their favorite character. Story time is not for sitting quietly. Do you all agree with me? So it's for bringing stories to life in a whole new way. So today I'm going to narrate a story by Beatrix Potter, The Tale of Peter Rabbit. So all my young friends, my tiny toddlers, are you all ready to listen to the story? I'm sure you all are. So come on, now let's do the story. And you know what? Today, someone is there with me to meet you all. So let me just call him. Okay. So are you all good? Hear you. A little louder? Yes. So we'll start. We'll call him. Okay. Louder, louder. Yes? Okay. We'll call him. Okay. Peter, Peter, where are you, Peter? Okay, let me just find out where is he. Uh, Here he is. Ta-da! So who's he? Peter Rabbit. So are you all ready to meet Peter Rabbit and listen to his story? Okay, first you need to greet him. Okay, say hi to Peter. Hi, Peter. How are you today? And you know what? He's very naughty. He's very, very naughty. You know what? I'm sitting in a garden, and you know, this garden is Mr. Magrigor's. So now let's see and hear story of Peter Rabbit. And Peter, you want to tell the story along with me, right? Okay, so are you all ready? Let's start the story. So Peter has three brothers. So their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail. So they lived with their mother in the sandbank under the roof of a very big fir tree. One morning, Mama Rabbit said, all of them, now, my dears, you may go into the field down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor. Now, run along and don't get into mischief. I'm going out. And then old Mama Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, they went down the lane to gather blackberries. But Peter was very naughty, ran straight away to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. First, ate some lettuce and then some French beans. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Then he ate some radishes. Crash, crash. And then rather feeling sick, went to look for some parsley. Parsley. But round the end of the cucumber frame, who should he meet but Mr. McGregor? Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees planting out young cabbages. But he jumped after Peter, waving a rake and calling out, "Stop, thief! Stop, stop, stop!" Peter was most dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden, for he had forgotten the way back to gate. He lost one shoe amongst the cabbages and the other shoe amongst the potatoes. After losing them, he ran on his four legs and went faster, 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 so that I think he might have got away altogether if he had unfortunately run into that gooseberry net, got caught by the large button of his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new one. He gave himself up for a lost and shed big tears. But his sobs were overheard by some friendly sparrows who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. Mr. McGregor then came up with a sieve, which he intended to pop upon the top of Peter. But Peter just wiggled out in time, leaving his jacket behind him, and rushed into the tool shed. To a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if it had not had so much of water in it. Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter is somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath a flower pot. So what he did, he began to turn them over carefully. So looking under each pot, he was just looking for Peter. And presently, Peter sneezed. And Mr. McGregor was after him in no time and tried to put his foot upon Miss Peter, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants of Mr. McGregor. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired running after Peter. So he thought, now let me just go back to my work. So he went back. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of his breath. He was trembling with fright, and he had not that least idea now which way to go. Also, he was very damp with sitting in that can, and he was sobbing, don't know where to go. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity, not very fast, and look all around. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked. There was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the store doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the woods. Peter asked her the way, but she had such a large bee in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Now, Peter began to cry again because he's not getting the way out. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Where to go? Where to go now? Then he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his water can. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still. But now and then the tip of her tail was twitched as if it were alive. Peter thought it's best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. Cats don't tell. They never have. So he thought he'll go back to the tool shed again. He went back towards the tool shed. But suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a horse. Crunch, scratch, crunch, crunch. He scuttled underneath the bushes again. But presently, as nothing happened, and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and peeked over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor growing onions. His back was towards Peter, and beyond him was the key. Let me just find out the way to the gate. So Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go along the straight walk behind some blackcurrant bushes. He started running faster, faster, faster. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe, lost in the woods outside the garden. You know what Mr. McGregor did? Remember that blue jacket which was there in the gooseberry net? So Mr. McGregor hung up that little jacket and the shoes which people lost, the cabbages and the potatoes. So he took that shoes and used them for a scarecrow to frighten these blackbirds. Peter never stopped running and don't want to look behind till he got home to that big fir tree. He was so scared and flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second time in the little jacket and the shoes that Peter had lost a fortnight. Sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. Mother put him to bed and made some hot soup and some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose to it to Peter. 1 tablespoon to be taken at the bedtime. But remember, Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, they had bread and milk and blackberries for their supper. And Peter missed them. He was not well, so he had a dose of camphor. Children, what do you learn from this story? Well, even though you can be a little naughty, you should listen to your elders. Listen to your mom and dad, right? And if you don't listen to them at times, you can get into some troubles. The way Peter got into trouble, even you can. And will miss all the fun enjoying time with your family and your love. So now, what will you do? You will definitely listen to your elders, right? Okay. So now, should we say bye to Peter? Should we wish him getting well soon? Now, Peter, get well and listen to your mom, okay? And don't be naughty. Friends, how do you like it? Like the story of Peter Rabbit, right? I can't hear. Did you? Yes? Okay. Now you know we have few more surprises waiting for you. Some more friends are waiting to see you. So let's welcome Miss Anupama Dubey and let's find out what she has in store for us. Over to you,
Hi.
Miss Anupama.
Thank you, Miss Rupa. Hello, everyone. I'm Anupama Dubey with Olive Trails. And today, you know what? I'm going to tell you a very funny story. Are you all eager to listen? But this story also have a message at the end, which we'll all come to know once the story gets over. But before beginning the story, there's someone here with me who wants to say hello to everyone. Do you all want to meet him? Yeah? So without wasting more time, here he is. He's saying hello. Hi, I am Gajapati Kulapati, the enormous. Enormous? Enormous means big and a very gentle elephant. I want to tell you certain facts about myself. I hope some of these facts you all must be knowing. Let's see. You know what? I have got two big floppy ears and I have got this big long trunk, which is my nose. Sometimes this long trunk acts as a hand, and sometimes it also acts as a fifth foot. I have got these two big tusks, which are also my teeth, but I don't use these teeth for eating. I use these teeth for ripping and tearing apart the branches or for digging. Now, in the world, there are two species of myself, the African bush elephant and the Asian elephant. But the bush elephant, the African bush elephant, is larger than its counterpart, which is the Asian elephant. You know, a baby elephant weighs approximately 120 kilograms, whereas I, the mightiest animal on the land, when I grow up, I can weigh up to 600 to 700 kilograms. Ooh, and this makes me the largest animal on the land. Now, over to you, Miss Anupama, for the story. Okay. Gajapati, Kulapati, you have told certain facts to my audience. Now, taking it a bit further, let me ask you a few questions. If elephant is the largest animal on the land, who do you think is the largest animal in the entire world? Tell me. I'm sure many of you know that. Yes, it's a blue whale, which is much, much, much more bigger than the elephant. But it doesn't stay on land. So, on land, elephants are the mightiest one. And another fact which Kulapati Gajapati forgot to tell you all is he has a very sharp memory. You know why? Because he has got the largest brain in this world. Nobody else has got a brain this big, the ones we find in elephants. Now tell me, which animal has the longest neck? Yes, you all know they're right. It's a giraffe. Do you know which animal was sent to space for the first time? Did you say a dog? No, no, no. A monkey? No, no, not at all. It was, in fact, a group of fruit flies. How many of you know this fact? But is this a quiz fest? No, 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 no. It is a story fest. So without taking much of your time, I'm going to share my screen and take you all through this fabulous, funny story, Kulapati Gajapati or Gajapati Kulapati. Are you all set? So here we go. There he is, Gajapati Kulapati. And before I start this story, I want to tell you a very interesting quote, which is also written by another famous author known as Dr. Seuss. I'm sure many of you must have read lots of books written by him. So he says, the more you read, the more you learn. And the more you know, the more places you go. So while going through this story, just think, which place have you visited? Now, talking about the author, you know who's an author? Author is a person who writes the stories. And the author for this story is Mr. Ashok Rajgopalan. And he is also said to be India's Eric Carle. Yes, right, you got it. He's also known as India's Eric Carle. And you know why he's often said as India's Eric Carle? Because first of all, he writes stories just like Eric Carle for children. And secondly, he uses funny words. You know, even I was not able to pronounce that word properly. So I have jotted it down, but I want to share it with you all. So that word is onomatopoeic. Right, onomatopoeic. Such a big word. You all must be wondering what is the meaning of this word. So these words represent sounds. Sounds like splash, brum, dhadam. These words are known as onomatopoeic words, which he usually uses in his stories. So now let's begin with the story Gajapati Kulapati. Gajapati Kulapati was a big elephant, and Gajapati Kulapati was a very gentle elephant as well. And everybody used to love giving him a pat. The children used to enjoy playing with him. And he used to live in a small little village down south. Now, one night, it rained and Gajapati Kulapati got wet. Gajapati Kulapati got cold. Small noses catch small cold, but big noses catch big colds. Gajapati Kulapati had a big nose and he caught a big cold. Now, there was a banana seller. So he went and asked Gajapati Kulapati, "Do you want to have bananas?" So Gajapati Kulapati opened his mouth. So you know what happened? Whoosh! The bananas flew out of the banana seller's hands. And few of the bananas went pacha. They fell on the postman's head, who was walking by to distribute the letters in the village. The postman fell on a cow. Dhamal! Mmm! The cow ran with her tail in the air. Gajapati Kulapati, poor thing, he felt very, very sad. Gajapati Kulapati didn't like to hurt his friends. So Gajapati Kulapati opened his mouth to say sorry. Choo! The banana seller ran as fast as he could. The postman ran as fast as he could. The cow also ran as fast as she could. Now Gajapati Kulapati felt very sad. Gajapati Kulapati didn't want to hurt his friends. So Gajapati Kulapati hid behind a big wall. You know why he had to hide behind a big wall? He didn't have house for himself. And he stayed all day long right behind that wall so that he doesn't trouble anybody else in the village. Everybody in the village now knew about Gajapati Kulapati's cold. So the banana seller told the milkman, "Do you know Gajapati Kulapati has a cold?" So the banana seller said this, "Gajapati Kulapati has cold." The milkman said this to the tailor. "Gajapati Kulapati has cold." The tailor said this to the flower seller. "Gajapati Kulapati has cold." The flower seller told this to the postman. And the postman said, I know. Gajapati Kulapati has got cold," shouted the postman. That night, a loud noise woke up everyone in the village. Was it a dog? It got louder. Was it a lion? It got more louder. Was it a Brum, brum, brum. Thunder and louder. Was the sky falling down? And achoo! It was the biggest sneeze anyone had heard. It was Gajapati Kulapati. Everyone shook their heads and went back to sleep. With that sneeze, Gajapati Kulapati's cold disappeared. Next morning, he came out bright and cheerful. Everyone gathered around him to give him a pat. Then one wise old grandmother said, "Let's build him a house. Otherwise, he'll keep getting wet in rains and he'll keep sneezing like this all the time." So they all came together, the banana seller, the milkman, the tailor, the flower seller, the postman, the grandmother. They all came together to build a house for Gajapati Kulapati. Gajapati Kulapati was the happiest elephant in the world. Why? Because now he has got his own house. From that day, people kept hearing achoo and achoo and achoo and achoo, but never achoo. You know why? Because from that day onwards, the big nose never caught a big cold. But the small noses are still catching small cold. But in the same time, we have to be responsible, isn't it? So whenever we need to sneeze, can we just sneeze like this? Achoo! No, we have to be responsible so that the virus doesn't spread around. Either you can use a tissue to wipe your nose, cover your nose and mouth while sneezing. But if you don't have this tissue, you can always take an elbow sneeze. Thank you. Did you all enjoy the story? So, here I am. So I want to ask you all that did you enjoy the story? I hope so. And from hence onward, always cover your nose and mouth with a tissue paper while sneezing. And if you don't have one, you all know what to do. Right. You have to take an elbow sneeze. And what more? The story fest is over, is it? I don't think so. Are you all hungry for more stories? I think so, right? So let me introduce you all to Miss Purva, who is going to tell you another exciting story. Over to Miss Purva.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Anupama. That was one truly relevant story, especially during these times. So thank you for sharing this story with us. I really enjoyed it so much. So good evening, dear parents and our children. A very happy Teachers' Day to everyone. Children, so today I'm telling you a story that will take you around the world. Are you aware that stories also take you around the world? I was wondering if you have ever heard of a place called the North Pole. Have you all heard of the North Pole? The North Pole is the point that is the farthest towards the north on the planet Earth. It is in the Arctic Ocean. And you know what? It's very cold over there. I'm feeling too hot today. The weather here is so hot. But the North Pole is always cool, always cold. But do you know why is it always cold? Because on the North Pole, the sun does not shine for about half the year. It does not rise at all. And even when it rises, it does not rise very high. Like we have suns rising very high in the sky. North Pole does not have the suns rising very high in the sky. Don't you think that's an interesting fact, dear children? So when you are standing at the North Pole, any direction that you point towards is south. This also is a fun fact that I want to share with everyone. So that again is very interesting. When you're standing at the North Pole, any direction that you point is a south direction. So talking about south, dear children, the southern country, that is Australia, is a habitat for koala bears. Koala bears can live in only one place in the world, and that is Australia. Did you know this thing earlier? Yeah? So I have shared this information with you. Koala bears can live only in one place in the world, that is Australia. Koalas also mostly like to eat eucalyptus plants. And when you talk about plants, just similar to them, do you know about pandas? Have you heard of pandas? Pandas like to eat bamboo plants. And you know what? Pandas are also one of the laziest bears in the world. Their whole day is only spent by eating and sleeping. They keep on eating and sleeping throughout the day. So, stories can actually take us around the world, right? Don't you think so? Today, our story is going to do just that. So, children, are you ready to take a world tour with me? Yes? Yes, yes? Okay, then let's begin with our story for the day. Our story for the day is The Bear's Night Out, written by Tara Bindel. The story goes like this, that once upon a time, there lived a girl named Megan. Megan loved bears more than anything else in the whole world. She had a polar bear, a grizzly bear, a panda bear, and also a koala bear. She had many other animals too, but it was only the bears that got to sleep in Megan's bed at night. Each night before going to bed, she gathered all the bears around her and tucked them in her blanket. Before she closed her eyes, she told each of the bears to behave. And normally, the bears behave as very good boys. But one summer night, the polar bear could not sleep. "It's too hot in here," he told the other bears. "I wish I were in the North Pole right now." "North Pole? Where is North Pole?" asked Panda. "I'll take you there if you want to go," said Polar. Panda did want to go to the North Pole, and Grizzly and Koala did too. So all the four bears slipped down the bedpost and headed off north. They reached North Pole, and when they arrived in the North Pole, Polar showed the bears around. But Koala did not feel very comfortable. "It's too cold in here. How do you live here? It is snowing. I could never live here. We polar bears have two kinds of furs. One which is woolly to keep us warm, and some that is spiky that keeps us dry. Even though we are as white as the snow, we have a thick black skin that keeps us comfortable. It was nice to see your family and friends, Polar. But I wish I were at a place which is much warmer. So all the four bears headed towards Australia. Is there anything to drink? Asked Grizzly. It's hot in here and I am thirsty. Polar bears eat eucalyptus leaves. We get all the water we need from the leaves. Polar shares some eucalyptus with her bear friends, and they all got sleepy. But just before they were about to nap, Grizzly's tummy began to roar. I am still hungry. Grizzly said, I wish I were in the mountains by a nice cold stream. So the bears headed west, all the way to Canada. Grizzly showed his friends all the wonderful things to eat, like fish, grapes, and even garbage left by the nearby campers. Panda was exhausted of all the traveling. I wish I were home, where life is a whole lot slower. So the four bears headed east to China. As they were traveling, Panda looked very worried. Aren't you happy to be going home for a visit? Polar asked Panda. I am, but I'm afraid there won't be any pandas left, explained Panda. When they arrived in China, there were only few other panda bears around. And Panda had to share just one small bamboo stick with all his friends. They ate just one small bamboo stick. Where is everybody? Asked Koala. Is this all that is to eat? Asked Grizzly. I'm afraid bears like me have almost gone extinct. And most of the bamboo trees have been cut, so there is not much to eat. The bears were tired, so they decided to head back to Megan's house. All the way home, the bears were very quiet. They had enjoyed their trip around the world, but they felt sad that there were very few panda bears left. When they had snuggled back in the bed with Megan, Panda lifted his head and smiled. I am so thankful to have other bear friends like you. Friends don't always need to be panda bears. Other kinds of bears are just as nice. All the four bears smiled and hugged each other. They then closed their eyes and went to sleep. So, dear children, did you enjoy the world tour along with the four bears? Yes? Did you like the story? I'm sure you all have enjoyed all our stories today. So now it's an end to our story fest. But we'll sure meet you next time with some more exciting festivals and activities, so you need not worry. We'll see you next time, okay? And as we end our session for the day, I would like to thank each and every one of you, dear parents, dear audience, all of you for joining us this evening. I would like to thank my co-storytellers, Ms. Anupama and Ms. Rupa, our IT team, Mr. Siddhesh, Ms. Paminder Kohli, our head of operations, and the most important character in the story of Olive Trails, of course, our director, Ms. Niyati Kanakya. Thank you, dear audience, for joining us this evening. Have a good day. Goodbye.